Hey guys, what's going on? This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. Well, today guys, we're going to do a basic disassembly and cleaning of the FN PS90 rifle. Now, even though this rifle looks a little bit futuristic and somewhat high-tech, the disassembly and cleaning is actually a very simple process due to the closed bolt and the blowback system that this rifle uses. You don't have a gas tube that's going to be pushing gases back into the bolt carrier group like what you might find on a traditional gas impingement AR-15. First things first, this PS90 is on loan to me from Stan, the owner of SS Pawn in Lexington, Nebraska. Guys, give SS Pawn a call and they will take care of all of your firearms needs. You guys are going to see this rifle in an upcoming range test and also tabletop review. We're going to play around with it a little bit, and Stan even donated the ammunition for the test too. So Stan, thank you so much for that. This is one of those bucket list guns that I've always wanted to shoot, and I'm finally going to get a chance, but first we got to get it clean. So let's go ahead and get started talking about the supplies we're going to need for this cleaning, because surprisingly it does not require a very large list. Alright, so tools of the trade. What's it take to clean up a rifle like the FN PS90? Well, it doesn't take a whole lot. First of all, you just get your favorite cleaner, whatever it is that you like to use to do the cleaning and lubing of your rifles, whether it's REM oil, CLP, or any other cleaner that works for you is just fine. I just get these pre-cut cotton patches. You can also use a cut-up cotton t-shirt if you want to save some money. These will work just fine. These are cut into about an inch and a half square, if I'm not mistaken. Bore snake, you can use a traditional cleaning rod if you want to, with the brush and the bore mop and all that stuff, and the patches to run through it. I just prefer to run a couple passes of the bore snake through it and we should be good to go. Some Q-tips for some of the fine detail work, and a cup of Black Rifle Coffee Company AK-47 espresso blend. And that definitely makes these cleaning videos so much more enjoyable. So, alright, let's go ahead and make sure that the firearm is cleared. One thing that's great about this rifle is the fact that it is truly ambidextrous with the safety, with the charging handle, with the magazine release. And so the first thing we want to do is go ahead and remove the magazine. And to do that, you simply pull back on this little lever right here, this little button, you push back on it. I'll be pulling from the other side. Lift up on the magazine and take it out. After that, you want to go ahead and check the chamber, make sure that it is in fact empty, which is kind of funny because there's a little hole back here that you'll look into, as the entire firing mechanism, trigger pack, and so on is located in the rear of the rifle. So just go ahead and pull back on your charging handle, check and make sure that the barrel is empty. Look off to the right, make sure that there's nothing in the back of the bolt. Okay, release the charging handle, and try it one more time. Okay, and you're all set to go. Alright, let's move on to the next step. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is separate the receiver from the lower of the rifle. So there's a button right here that you're going to want to press down. Okay, located right there. Go ahead and press that button down and pull. Okay, and your receiver is going to come out from the lower of the rifle. This is essentially your barrel, your recoil spring, and so on. We'll go ahead and set that off to the side, and we will move on to our next step. Alright, removal of the bolt, like I said, it's a completely kind of self-contained unit, which we will not be disassembling. We're simply going to give it a wipe down. You just pull on the front of the bolt through this little hole right here in the top of the lower, and it slides forward. Okay, the whole unit's going to come right out, and you can see that it is fairly clean. It has not been shot a lot. But, you know, there's some design elements here that are very similar to other semi-automatic rifles we've seen before, but also its own design. There's the front where your striker is going to come out, and you've got your extractor, which actually flings the spent casings down below, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit dirty, so we're going to go ahead and give this a general wipe down and go from there. Now, you can use an old toothbrush if you want to, or some gun brushes to scrub off some of the grit and some of the grime. I'm just going to use some CLP soaked cloths just to give everything a general wipe down. We'll start off by wiping off the springs. And you're going to see just how much spent carbon is going to be coming off this as we clean it. There are complete disassembly videos, you know, gun disassembly videos on YouTube for this if you want to get into more complicated disassembly. But for what we're doing, which is just kind of a general field strip and disassembly, again, we're just going to do a basic wipe down of the outside of the bolt carrier group, or the bolt mechanism, whatever you'd like to refer to it as. This is a really cool design. Very solid, sturdy feeling piece of steel or alloy, whatever they make it out of. More or less, we just want to go over every single surface, and we'll do some fine detail work with a Q-tip here in just a minute. But again, it's a very simple disassembly, one of the easiest disassemblies that I've ever done before on a rifle. Very, very simple. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you would think that just judging by how high-tech and futuristic this thing looks, that it would be a lot more complicated to take apart, and it's really not. And again, you could hit the front of this with a little bristle brush if you want to, one of your favorite cleaning brushes. As for me, I'm just going to stick with the patches, but it is fairly dirty. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and keep scrubbing this for a little bit until it comes clean. Okay, you can do the same thing, no sense in keeping you here on the camera because you'll probably be doing this on your own. And when we come back, we'll do a little bit of just light cleaning and lubrication with the Q-tips, and we'll move on to our next step. Okay guys, so it took me about 5 patches to get this bolt carrier group to the point that it's where I feel like it's adequately clean, especially to be ready for the next range trip. What you want to do when it's all said and done is just leave a very light coating of lubricant all the way around, nothing excessively oily or excessively wet, okay, just enough as a protective coating to ensure that everything is going to slide properly. I do have a little bit of CLP in these Q-tips, and we're going to use that for some of the fine detail work. It was really dirty along these ridges on the underside of the bolt. I'm just going to refer to this as the bolt carrier group. Don't know if that's a correct terminology or not, but get in those little cracks and crevices, okay. It was also especially dirty in the front of the bolt where we have the striker that comes out, so this is something you want to pay a lot of attention to, but you do not want to leave this with a lot of lubricant on it because that can attract a lot of dirt and dust. So once you get it cleaned out, you want to wipe it off with a dry patch just to ensure that there's not going to be anything that's gonna foul it up or clog it up and so on when you're working on it. Let's get that zoomed in for you there. There you go. So again, very, very easy to clean, get in between there. It's just amazing all the little nooks and crannies where you're going to run into spent carbon and so on. Well, like I said before, when you're all done, just go ahead and give it a light lubricant coat, protective coat all the way around, and you should be all set. All right, so removal of the trigger pack, it's a piece of cake. Go ahead and slide up the rubber butt plate that's on the rear of the rifle. And I'm just gonna give that a little wipe off. It's got some dirt on it. Just kind of get that cleaned. A little bit scraping on the plastic. Again, a lot of polymer in the construction of this firearm. To remove the trigger pack, it's actually pretty simple. There's a little lever or lever here if you're a fan of the Yankee Marshall. And go ahead and pull up on that lever. And while you do so, put your finger in the top and you can slide out the trigger group. Again, it'll just come right out. Now this is a completely self-contained trigger pack. I will not be doing any disassembly of this. I'm going to just wipe off what I can, Q-tip off what I can. And again, you can do the same thing, put a little bit of CLP on a patch, go around and wipe off everything you can, like the hammer. You can see it's got a lot of carbon on it. Just kind of go through it, just give it just a little general bit of lubrication on the springs with a Q-tip. And you should be okay to go. I'm going to wipe off the whole thing all the way around. It is just a polymer construction. It's very, very lightweight, very simple mechanism. Although it looks kind of complicated, there's just not a lot to it. So we'll go ahead and just wipe everything down real quick, and then we'll come back with the next step. All right, go ahead and take your upper receiver, and you can just do this sitting on a towel if you want to. I have this at an angle so that the cleaner will run down the barrel. What we want to do now is what I like to call marinating the barrel. We're going to let it soak for just a little bit with some CLP. So just go ahead and shoot a little bit of CLP in the end here. Might run out the back of the barrel, that's fine. You want to give it enough that it starts to run. Eventually it'll start coming out the front of the barrel. A couple shots of that, just let it go. Okay, we're going to let that soak, and while that's soaking, we're just going to go ahead and wipe off the upper receiver with a lightly oiled patch just to clean off any dirt or debris. I'm not going to mess with the charging handle mechanism on this. If you wanted to, well, we'll talk about that in a second here, but I don't want to do any more disassembling than is absolutely necessary for just a basic field strip and cleaning. Like I said, there are some wonderful gunsmithing videos on this firearm, and I'm still becoming familiar with it. So we're at the point where we're just going to give it a basic barrel scrub, a wipe off, and then we will see where that takes us from there. Alright, so now that the barrel already has some CLP in it, it's already got some lubricant cleaner in it, we're just going to go ahead and run our bore snake through it a couple times, dry, because it's going to pick up all that crap that's in the barrel and the oil. You don't want to, again, overly lubricate it, especially these first couple passes. Your weight's going to pop out of the front of the barrel. It is a 16.04 inch barrel, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. Okay, the weight comes out of the front, which gives it the legal minimum length for it not to be considered a short barrel rifle, according to law. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just pull the bore snake through. This is a 22 caliber bore snake. You can use it with 22 long rifle, 223, 5.56, all that fun stuff. Okay, go ahead and pull that through. So that was the first pass. Now for the second pass, what I like to do is put just a little bit of lubricant in front of the cleaning bristles and a little bit at the back, and then just let the bore snake pick up the rest of it. By the way, I want to make a quick correction here. I think I might show this in some post-editing. This part that we removed, okay, I refer to it as the trigger pack. I apologize, guys. This is your hammer pack assembly. The trigger assembly and the trigger itself is actually part of the lower, and we're not going to be removing that, although you can. Again, I'm just doing the basic field strip, so my apology in the mislabeling of the terms. Not used to a gun that has everything basically contained in the rear of the stock, so this is my bad about that. This is an awesome barrel. It is chrome lined, which will definitely help with longevity and accuracy. I would like to think that FN makes their barrels from, in a high quality kind of way. They should, for what they charge for their firearms. I know they have a proprietary machine gun steel that they use on the barrels, and I'm really, really excited to take this out to the range. So let's go ahead and run this through one more time. Now you can get yourself a flashlight, a bore light, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to go ahead and check the barrel, make sure it's totally clear of obstructions and lint. Just wipe off the upper receiver with a very light coat of oil, all the metal edges and so on, and we will probably continue with reassembly at this point. Very simple. Now if you have any kind of a gun stand or a gun vise, I don't want to remove the charging handle, but you can just pull back on it and just press it down. Go ahead and put a light lubricant on the rails right here, because we're going to have some metal on metal contact going on. You do that on both sides, okay? I'm going to get that right back here. Again, just using some CLP. We are going to go through all the metal surfaces, of course. Now, if you want to just gently pull up on this charging handle, you can then continue putting some more oil on these friction surfaces, especially towards the rear here. You've got a bit of a rail that the charging handle is going to ride over. Go ahead and repeat this for the other side. You're not going to hurt anything if you do that. If anything, it's just going to encourage proper lubrication of the metal on metal surfaces. Okay, so like I said before, we're not going to do any further disassembly of the lower, but there are videos on YouTube that are very well done that will take you through the entire process of taking out the trigger, taking out this trigger bar, and so on. Unless you see some dirt and crud and debris in here, there's really no reason to even have to mess around with the trigger assembly itself. So we'll go ahead and put that back into our little holder here, our little vise. And you can wipe out the inside of this with a little cloth if you want to, if you happen to notice any dirt or debris in there. We'll go ahead and take our hammer pack and we'll just push it back on the bottom here. Okay, and you want to pull up on the lever as you slide it back in. It'll lock back into place. Make sure it's locked. Okay, good to go. All right, let's move on to our next step of reassembly. Once we have that hammer pack back in place, you want to go ahead and put your butt pad back on, rear stock pad back into place. It'll just slide back on. Okay, then after that, we want to put your bolt back into place, and just go ahead and make sure you've got the roller on the left-hand side if you were to be holding the firearm. Just go ahead and sit it back in there. It's a very heavy unit. It's just going to slide back into place. You can just press it. It'll hit the rear, and you can go ahead and stop at that point. Okay, then let's move on to reattaching our upper receiver and barrel. Okay, now for the upper receiver and barrel, just go ahead and press it back into your lower frame, your lower, and it's going to slide. Button's going to lock back into place. Make sure the button is springy, that it will pop up and lock itself back in. Check the unit. Okay, and after that you can put your magazine back in it if you want to, and we'll do just a little dry fire just to make sure that the mechanism is functioning properly, and we'll move on. Okay, just double check and make sure we got everything ready to go. I've got an empty magazine here. The gun has just been reassembled. It is completely clear. You can check with the charging handle to ensure that it does function properly. And it does. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the magazine back in. Slides in the front. Slap it back into place. I do have it on safe, so we'll put it on setting 1, which is fire for the semi-automatic version. Go ahead and check it by dry firing. Good to go. You can run it one more time if you want to. It does have some pretty heavy duty springs. Dry fire. And we are good to go. Okay guys, so that is it. That's all it takes to disassemble the FN PS90 semi-automatic rifle, carbine, whatever you want to call it. Very, very simple. In fact, one of the easiest disassemblies I think I've ever done before. And again, you can get into more complete field stripping and disassembly if you want to get into the trigger pack and the bolt carrier group, the bolt, all that fun stuff. Not necessary for what we're going to do. But anyway, guys, we'll be taking this out to the range in a couple of days. Again, my thanks to Standard SS Pond for loaning me this very cool unit to test out from his private collection, as I mentioned before. And it should be coming up here soon. So if you like what you see, guys, please like or subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on gunchannels.com. Just about every Saturday morning, I've got a 1 to 2 hour podcast called Caliber Corner. It comes on at 8 a.m. Central Time, so please check that out. I think you guys are going to like it. We have a variety of topics every week, and I'll be taking this to the range shortly after this Saturday's episode. So that's it. If you like what you see, again, please like or subscribe, guys. We've got a lot of material coming your way this summer, a lot of range time coming up, a lot of tests, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm very, very excited to take this out. So guys, that's it. I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. Enjoy your Second Amendment. Enjoy your firearms. And as you know, guys, we will talk to you soon. Hey, take care and have a great week. Bye-bye.